Welcome to the CAPA Heat Watch Organizer video. We at CAPA Strategies are thrilled to be working with you. In this video, we will give you the information you need to lead a successful Heat Watch campaign and connect you with the materials you need to get started. We will be walking you through the process of conducting a heat campaign step by step, moving through 7 phases from planning to implementing your results. The steps may vary based on your level of service, determined by the particular scope laid out in your contract. The first phase of your campaign is set goals, including identifying a target date for your campaign, connecting to potential partner organizations, and determining who your local organizer will be. Setting a target campaign date will help set the timeline for preparation. Pause and consider. Is there information on historically hot dates in your area that can help you to predict when an ideal campaign day may be? The ideal campaign day is a cloudless day within roughly the top 10% of your annual temperature range. Next, consider what local organizations and individuals will be solid partners for conducting this research. Take a second here to consider who in your community you would partner with, organizations that you've worked with in the past that are reliable, responsible, and with resources to recruit volunteers. For example, environmental and/or climate justice organizations, science and technology centers, university partners, etc. You can also think outside the box when recruiting partners. Everyone is affected by heat, so this may be an opportunity to work with groups that do not typically engage with environmental issues. The ideal time window for recruiting organizational partners is around 10 to 12 weeks before the target campaign date. Lastly, identify a local organizer who will act as the main point of contact with the CAPA team as well as with volunteers. The organizer's role typically requires between 15 to 25 hours of work spread over several months, from preparation to campaign day to follow-up activities. They should be someone who is organized, communicative, flexible, and connected to volunteers and community groups. Now on to Phase 2, Establish. 6 to 10 weeks prior to your target campaign date, familiarize yourself and your team with the details of the Heat Watch process and begin recruiting volunteers. Review the provided starter kit and training materials, which will include materials such as outreach flyers, email templates, volunteer training material, and a volunteer tracking sheet. Once reviewed, schedule a meeting with CAPA program managers to ask clarifying questions and review organizer responsibilities. Begin recruiting volunteers using the provided outreach material, tapping into existing volunteer networks within your own and partner organizations. Reach far and wide. You never know who would be interested in participating in a citizen science, environmental-related campaign. In the past, volunteers have been students, staff, family members, local clubs, or community groups. The more diverse groups you involve, the wider audience you may reach. Volunteers will receive the invitation and commit over email or through a contact form. Be sure to track information on interested volunteers through the volunteer tracking spreadsheet provided in the starter kit. These volunteers will be taking hours out of their day to assist you in your campaign, so consider what compensation you might be able to provide. We recommend $50 to $100 per volunteer. Phase 3, Prepare. 2 to 6 weeks before your target campaign date, ensure volunteers are ready for their important roles as data collectors through training and assignment of responsibilities. Depending on your level of service as well as your volunteers' access to computers, you may either opt for volunteers to complete a comprehensive at-home module or convene your volunteers for an in-person or live webinar-style training. For the at-home module option, volunteers will receive a Google Drive folder with a comprehensive training video and short knowledge check quiz to ensure comprehension of the essential points, as well as access to sign the volunteer waiver. This liability waiver, required by all volunteers, should be reviewed and signed after completion of the training. For an in-person training, you'll want to find a time and place to meet that is convenient for your volunteers. Volunteers will watch the training video together and can get to know the group as well as ask questions and discuss how the campaign results might be used in their community. Alternatively, organizers can host a live webinar to play the training video and allow volunteers to interact with you, the organizer, from their homes. Again, the waiver must be signed after training video via electronic form. The volunteer training video will cover all needed information for volunteers, including how to operate equipment, collect data, follow their routes, and other campaign day logistics. The training also addresses what to do if volunteers finish their route early or drive over the allotted time, as well as handling special cases like unexpected rain or getting off course. All volunteer resources are also available online. Volunteers will collect data within a specified sub-area or polygon following a predetermined driving or bicycle route. Each polygon will cover roughly 10 square miles by car or 5 square miles by bicycle. Routes by car or bicycle are designed to take about an hour to complete, covering as many different land uses as possible, avoiding highways and faster-moving roads, and not doubling back. Depending on your level of service, polygons and routes can be designed by the organizing team, with CAPA-provided instructional material, or CAPA can create polygons and routes for you. Note that for driven polygon routes, volunteers are asked to pair their teams so that one volunteer may drive safely while the other provides directions. Bicyclists should choose to memorize their route or designate points to take breaks and check their maps. Polygon assignments for all volunteers should be tracked in the volunteer tracking sheet in the starter kit. 1 to 2 weeks before your target campaign date, you will begin the Activate phase. In this phase, you will solidify your campaign date, notify volunteers, and finalize logistics for campaign day. Take a look at your local weather forecast to see if the day you picked is indeed expected to be cloud-free and within roughly the top 10% of your area's temperature range. If these conditions do not hold for your target date, identify a new date. Confirm availability with volunteers for this date and organize backup plans and dates as needed. Once a campaign day is confirmed, you will schedule the shipment of your data equipment and supporting supplies with CAPA. A reusable shipping bin will include the appropriate number of devices for cars and bicycles, charging cables and adapters, Science in Progress bumper magnets, and a prepaid return label. The equipment can be shipped to either a business or residential location. Establish a central meeting space and time window for your volunteers to come pick up equipment the day prior to the campaign, and to return the equipment after the campaign is completed. Record which volunteer teams are using which sensor in the volunteer tracking sheet. Finally, you've reached campaign day, and it's time to execute. Volunteers will traverse their routes at 3 specific times throughout the day, during morning, afternoon, and evening, to help determine how temperatures vary across the region and how this distribution changes over time. Volunteers will arrive at the unique starting point of each of their routes 15 minutes prior to the hour to install and turn on their equipment according to their training instructions. The equipment, pictured here, attaches to the car by fitting onto the passenger window, while the bicycle mount device secures to the handlebars. The equipment is operated by a simple on-off switch and does not require any other calibration or settings. Following prescribed routes, volunteers will drive through the hour, collecting thousands of ambient temperature and humidity data points. During training, volunteers are instructed to maintain consistent speeds for their vehicles, be prepared in case of detour or rerouting, and instructed on what to do with equipment in between traverses. The equipment will collect measurements for the specific hours of the campaign only. Typically, this is 6 a.m. to 7 a.m., 3 p.m. to 4 p.m., and 7 p.m. to 8 p.m., though may vary according to local climatological patterns. Once the campaign is completed, volunteers will return their equipment to the organizer, note any damages that may have occurred, and ship all equipment back to CAPA using the prepaid label. And don't worry, a designated CAPA HeatWatch program manager will be available by phone and email throughout your campaign day for any issues or questions that come up. Typically, volunteer scheduling issues will be best resolved by the organizer, while technical questions pertaining to the weather, equipment, or traverses may be best directed by CAPA managers. Once your campaign is completed and equipment returned, CAPA begins the Analyze phase. Over 4 to 6 weeks following your campaign, CAPA analysts will work to process the data and produce visual outputs. CAPA analysts receive the raw data files and use programmatic filters to clean and reduce the file to usable data. Traverse point maps are produced showing the temperatures measured along routes, and then area-wide surface maps are produced using a combination of machine learning algorithms and satellite-derived land cover variables to predict temperatures and heat indices over the entire study area. Published research papers on these analytical methods are available online upon request. Maps and datasets are then shared with the city team in either static form, interactive web map, or comprehensive report, depending on the level of service. After your team has reviewed your campaign results, you can begin the implement phase, starting with a check-in call with CAPA to discuss next steps for applying your maps and datasets for further research or implementation. We'll also send out a survey to campaign participants along with results to gather feedback on their experience and interpretations of the results. We use the results of this survey to share with our greater networks, as well as amend processes for future campaigns. CAPA and the city team meet over the phone or via webinar to explore future possibilities, CAPA insights, spatial analytics. Next steps are determined and planned for action. We hope this video has been helpful in understanding your role as organizer, as well as many of the important details in the HeatWatch campaign process. If you haven't yet initiated your campaign, find out more at our website, or reach out to our team through our contact form at capastrategies.com/contact us, or directly at info@capastrategies.com. Thank you for watching.